Western body mutilation. And yeah, so I said it, right? And let's just jump right on to the topic. I really appreciate you guys watching the videos more than you could possibly imagine. Seriously, it is just the coolest thing, and I appreciate you very much. And so, Western bodily mutilation, probably not the most popular topic. And for the search, for like the AI on the YouTube there or whatever, an entirely extemporaneous speech in impromptu form about an adult topic, which in no way should be construed as anything other than extemporaneously speaking in an impromptu format about a thought that I have. Okay. And so, Western bodily mutilation, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? As an American man, I am mostly referring to circumcision, right? And how in the West, here on over this side of the pond, males are more often than not, more times than not, circumcised. Now, this could be for a number of different reasons. This occurs both in the secular world as well as those who become circumcised for religious beliefs, right? Now, here's the problem I have with that, right? Is that as an American man who was raised in this kind of culture, I really, as an adult, am understanding now that everything requires consent, especially when it like involves, you know, mutilating your body in terms of taking something off of you that was on there that you chose not to have. So like literally that would be like a voluntary surgery, right? I mean, in every sense of how I can phrase that, bodily mutilation is the voluntary decision made to remove something that would otherwise be there. Again, now let's not get crazy PC with it in terms of obviously if it's needed to be removed for health reasons because of complications, things that can't be fixed, obviously you want to be able to have the medical capability to circumcise people, right? I mean, that's the thing. And especially like if you're an adult and you can provide consent and you have done your research and you are aware of not just the risks, but the pros and the cons of having, you know, one of like your most sacred and major body parts, I'd say, like altered, right? And again, I guess an equivalent like bodily mutilation, and I spoke about this recently, and it's weird how men's perspective vary on the whole situation in terms of how like even as an American man I'm like, oh yeah, leave my body alone, you know, I didn't consent to being circumcised when I was a year old, but it's okay for me to get my daughter's ears pierced at the age of 2 because I and her mom or whatever, we think it's okay. I'm sure this is a very common scenario, and so it's still sort of lends to the fact that like, well, I am really cool with piercings and all these other things. Who am I to safely assume that every young girl wants to have her ears pierced at an age of which she can't consent in any normal sort of relative meaningful way that is a decision made from knowledge and fact-based information, right? And so I again, you know, as I get older, and it's something that you can't like get back, you know, as far as I know, there's no surgical operation that can like put skin back on, you know, where it would go, right? I mean, so again and again, like the thing is too is that I even brought it up, a lot of us do it as a homage or as an homage, whatever, as tradition would lend us to believe, right? And like for our religious beliefs or whatever. And the thing is that you know, is it weird that like I'm okay with that in terms of like I I enjoy my I enjoy my religious denomination, right? And again, like, well, I'm, you know, on my team in terms of however in a limited capacity that means as far as spirituality and ideology goes, along with simultaneously trying to live a somewhat sort of secular and real life as well as, you know, believing in other things and things like that. I don't think that overall it's something that should be done without the consent of the person that it's happening to. And again, because it just makes me wonder about a life that I can't have, right? And again, I've heard all scientific readings have led me to believe that men who are not circumcised enjoy a different kind of an experience physically when they're engaged in sexual activity as do people that have circumcision, right? And again, I'm not talking about aesthetics or about how maybe women might feel about the perspective visually of these things. I'm actually literally speaking about how most of the men in this country are succumbed. They succumb to involuntary Western bodily mutilation at the behest of the adults in our society. And again, it's not very popular here because that's just what we do, especially because it's so normalized. I'd say that like when it doesn't happen, it's uncommon here. So again, I think that's kind of weird that like in a place where common practice should be not bodily mutilation, but in fact it's the opposite kind of a thing, and I'm supposed to be okay with that, which strikingly I sort of am in terms of only how my religious beliefs would allow me to be in terms of the requirements that are there and set up so that you can be on this club or on this team or whatever, right? And so that's where I stand. I know that it's a sensitive topic in terms of like where people feel about it or whatever, but I want to challenge people to actually think, especially women, right, in terms of trying to put yourself into a different kind of pair of shoes and trans sort of speaking in terms of trying to feel what it's like to be like a man in that way and to have one of like your private part, you know, messed with at no, you know, and you didn't consent to that. I just think that it's a weird practice, and I think it's something that not a lot of men want to talk about, one, much less people. And when men don't want to talk about it, right, in terms of like there's no woman representative that can sort of speak or profess or advocate on behalf of some of these thoughts. And so it's sort of like, okay, well, I guess we'll talk about it, right? I mean, kind of uncomfortable, but definitely something that is a real life and thing and is very impactful to a lot more males than you would think in terms of, and again, how many males don't even ever really think about it? And how does that reflect upon us in terms of when we get members of each certain sex is to not even think about what they've gone through in terms of how it could, you know, impact the rest of their life. So that's all.